Well, and I kind of wanted to touch on that to go back to kind of how we got here in the first place. And one of the big things is knees, right? And I remember you telling me about how we got to the place a long time ago where limiting the range of motion with our knees, where that came from. And can you kind of, not to like just jump to a different topic.
Yeah, I
love the story.
We can go all over the place. I'm a random person. I'm weird. I'm goofy.
Well, I want to do knees and then like running,
Yeah, so I'll break this down. So you guys have heard, don't let your knees come over your toes. We've all heard it. If you haven't heard it, I'm shocked because it's one of the top myths that's been circulating for decades across the fitness industry, across physical therapy. Don't let your knees come over your toes. In fact, you'll see some trainers push people's knees back, or don't let your knee collapse in, which I find is interesting. So here's what happened. Dr. Carl Klein back in the 50s and 60s was a professor. And he was a guy who wanted to kind of get recognition, this little paraphrasing. So he started touring around the country with a hypothesis that it was bad or detrimental to the knee ligaments for the knee to travel in front of the toe because, it would put a lot of load into the knee. So he started traveling around and teaching this story. And I know a lot of your listeners have heard, don't let your knees come over your toe. Don't lift with a rounded back, all those jazz. So this shows you how myths get created and then cause problems in the training world. So he goes around and he creates this contraption that measures force at the knee, which he was going to sell. And basically he did this really poorly done study, which should have never been accepted. He took a bunch of Olympic weightlifters from the Pan Am Games. So pro Olympic weightlifters, ballers. And then he took a bunch of people who never squatted before, novices. And then he's like, let's all squat heavy and to full depth. And guess what they found? They found that there was more force at the knee when it was like more compressive force when the knee got low via his contraption. If you look at the old black and white photos, there was a contraption that went around the knee that measured force and all that. He was actually trying to patent and sell that. Well, what happened is, in his conclusion, he said there's more force placed on the knee in a deep squat. And then guess what happened? Sports Illustrated picked up the story and they said, there's more force placed on the knee in a deep squat when your knees come over your toes. Then all of a sudden, the military heard about it. And they said, oh my gosh, there's more force at the knee. So it sounds like this scary thing, right? If I say, I'm putting a lot of force in your low back. Oh no, don't do that. Don't do that. So then the military it got super popular. And then the military said, we need to stop having people do full depth squats, squat jumps, like they were doing like duck walks for, grass and grills type movements, as you guys know. And the military said, we need to ban this. It's bad. There's lots of force going in the knee. This is bad for the ligaments. And basically in his conclusion, he was like, this places a lot of load on the ligaments. And you hear that, and the military then banned it. And then pretty soon it was commonly known you should not squat to depth. At the time, people who were experts in the area, so you had some of the top, strongest people in the world say that's bullshit. That's not true. So what they didn't realize is it put more force in the knee, but took load off the back. So it's a trade-off, just like anything. There's left and right, up and down, all that stuff. So the people at the time were like, this is bullshit, this is wrong. All the experts who actually were the strong people. Well, they didn't believe it because they said, where's your research study? Where's your PhD? And then you flash forward half a century later, there probably will be 500,000 posts today of trainers saying, don't let your knees come over your toes. It's bad for you. So that's a little offset. And to this day, that's where that myth started from. And people still believe that. You go, and it's everyday people. And it just shows you how small little kind of bit of information taken in the wrong context can just go crazy. It's absolutely crazy. It's kind of like the block periodization with the Russians. So people think they're being smart by using block periodization with the Russians. You'll see pro strength coaches be like, oh, we use block periodization. Well, the reason the Russians did that was because in winter, there wasn't much sunlight in Russia, so they didn't have good vitamin D exposure. So they realized if they trained people hard during then, it was detrimental to training. Once again, putting in effort without much reward. So they created this system. And then once they found out how to supplement with vitamin D, they stopped doing it because it was ineffective.